Welcome back to Mindset Matters, a mental health series from WellSpan Health here on Sports Radio 98.9 FM, 1350 WOYK, the York Revolution YouTube channel. And this is episode 5 on radio. We've broken our episodes down into smaller segments for your consumption on YouTube. But Daryl Henry with you, the voice of the Revs, general manager of WOYK from inside our WOYK studios. And Dr. Michael Diller, licensed psychologist at WellSpan Health, also director of their EAP program. My co-host for this series, Mike, you've got another kind of branch of your career now. You're co-host with me. This has been awesome. And episode 5 here today, I'm fired up for it.
I'm pumped up as well. It's a beautiful day today, bright and sunny, and it's November, and it's like pushing 70 degrees, which doesn't make sense, just to most, but I think most of us will take it. We'll take the sun, we'll take the nice weather. But I also got to tell you, I was just talking to someone yesterday, I guess it was, and I had said, I was talking about you and the series, and I said, yeah, Daryl's like my co-host, or I'm like a co-host. So it's kind of like, we're in this together. It's pretty cool. So looking forward to another conversation today and being with the listeners in the audience today. So yeah, it's good to be back.
Absolutely. And when this one airs, again, I think our listeners know by this point, you and I have done these ahead of time. They will be unveiled week by week. So, it's probably early to mid-December right now. It might be sleeting outside for all I know, while you just mentioned it's 70 and sunny on the day that we're recording this.
Yes, but, that's true. Yeah. Thank you for that clarification, because when someone's listening to it in December, they may be like, what is he talking about? Yeah. Yes. Good to remind that. Yes. Thank you.
That's what I'm here for, not to bring us down, because 70 and sunny sounds amazing. But this was actually, before we get into our main topics today, Mike, we are recording this at the very end of election week. It's not election day, it's election week. It might be election month. I don't know. But I have seen so much anxiety on social media. Like it's a real thing. This is just another world event, one in many, that are causing people to feel a certain way here in 2020. And then of course, there's many of us feel that way any year, no matter what's going on. But 2020 has been one giant trigger for people. And I know, with the uncertainty around election day and everything, those first couple days, I was finally able to kind of self-talk, remove myself from it a little bit. But the uncertainty of all of it, I was feeling it big time. Some of the heaviest anxiety I've felt in a while, those couple of days. So Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, I'm sure a lot of people have been in the same boat.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I'm in that boat too. So it is, and the election still, as we record this now, is still not finished. So it's, so we're used to going through an election, even if it's very contested, and having an endpoint that happens relatively quickly after election day, typically the day after. This has not been the case. And, and the buildup leading to the election, it created a lot of, anxiety, I think, and stress for folks leading up to the election. And we're already dealing with uncertainty in so many different ways, like you were referencing and talking about 2020, the pandemic, the race relations issues that we were dealing with, the economy, COVID-19, rising rates right now with COVID-19, and that's very much a concern right now, on top of the election. And so that's uncertainty on top of uncertainty on top of uncertainty. So when you say in this boat, and this has been a really challenging week, I hear you and I'm with you, and we're not alone. I think anyone who's part of this conversation today, and we just look around and the conversations I've had, it's very stressful right now. And it's important to acknowledge that. And it's also important to make sure that we do things to take care of ourselves during this time, because it's easy to kind of feel like we're unraveling and kind of in a way like, oh my gosh, and lose sight of being able to take care of us ourselves, so that we can be there for others, other folks, and what we do every day also, and the connections we may have in our life. So, I know we talked last time a little bit, we were ambitious, and so we have, we want to share this 9 to know, and what you could do when you're stressed and you're feeling this anxiety sometimes, and that life brings us. And 2020 has brought us many different things to work through and try to navigate and get through. And we talked about 9 to know, and I think we got through 2. So here we are today. I think we're gonna try to finish that out, but it's connected to what you started with today. I mean, it's right now it is. It's still questions that surround what's happening right now with the election and what happens after that. When the final results come in, all of that. So it's challenging. So, but the first thing that's hugely important is that we gotta own that. We gotta admit that. We gotta acknowledge that, and that's okay and that's normal, because that's all of us. And people will say, "Well, you're the psychologist. What do we do? Or do you feel like this?" And I would say, yes, I do feel like this. And there are some things to do, but sometimes I need those reminders. So we all need that sometimes. And that's where we can get I think today, we're looking to support one another and lean on each other and try to do that together.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of our last YouTube episode, we did give folks a tease with the slide of what those 9 things are. But this is something you developed, Mike. And if you could briefly touch on the first 2, just as a reminder, and then we'll dive back in and pick up where we left off. But this can be, a playbook for life. I mean, these are awesome. I love the way it's listed. It's something that you can focus on and kind of tackle and use to your advantage one at a time. And it kind of breaks it down. It's not, so overwhelming for people. I love the way it's put together.
Well, I appreciate that. And let me tell you, these are things that I've either seen or picked up during kind of my walk. They're research backed. So people will say evidence-based sometimes. So they're backed by research to say these things work. They're proven to work. It's not just during a pandemic. These are just good things to know to help us work through stressful times and uncertain times. And so, the first 2, the first one was basically just reminding ourselves and one another, we got to make sure we slow things down a little bit. Press pause is kind of where I've shared that kind of language before. Press pause along the way, so that we can sometimes it's, we were sharing a little bit about this. You were sharing some things that you do. You were real specific last time. I appreciate that. But taking a walk, breathe, just breathe. Sometimes people will, do things like they'll meditate. They'll take some, mindful meditation. You'll hear them, to be able to take some moments and just be present in the moment. Step outside. Now when this airs, it may be much colder, but today is a good day to get outside and just take it all in, breathe it all in, stretch, walk, look up at the clouds. Take a moment, because when we get caught up in the whirlwind of life, sometimes we lose sight of that. So press pause, take a break, be in the moment. And then the second one was contrasting interest, 2 different words that sometimes well, what does that mean, Mike? Contrasting interest, and I got that from another colleague from University of Pennsylvania, Dr. Corey Newman, at a presentation 10 years ago. I remembered those 2 words. So these 2 words, what do they mean? Do something different than you do in your work life every day. Something that recharges you, that lifts you, that energizes you. And you were sharing with me, you shared with the listeners too, that during this pandemic, when the baseball season was not going to unfold and it was canceled this year, you needed to find something different. You found golf. And so this week, you decided to play on one of the coldest days, one of the windiest days. You went out to the links. So I was like, I don't even know how he's doing that, but apparently, did you enjoy that? I don't know. How was that?
I did. I had to kind of check myself. Don't get hung up on the score today. Just enjoy it. Enjoy being outside. And I did. It was a ton of fun, and it was added a different challenge than normal. But one thing, Mike, and not to get off topic, but earlier this summer, I got so into golf. This is just my personal, constant battle with anxiety. I got so into it, I kind of got obsessed with it, and to the point where if I wasn't getting better, I was almost depressed by that. So it's important, I think, to find things that you enjoy, but everything's got to be done in moderation. And for me, I even had to check myself of, the scales tipping a little too much toward the obsessive side of that. So
yeah. Well, Yes. So all good things in moderation, trying to find the balance. And then also, there's a piece here that I don't have it really listed, I don't think, in the 9 to know, but it's giving ourselves a little grace, a little self-compassion, making sure that we're not too hard on ourselves, because if we get out there, golf is an interesting, sport, because, people will tell me all the time. So I am not a golfer. I've played a few times in my life. I'm the one who provides entertainment for others. But I enjoy it, because you get to hang out with some, folks. You're walking around, especially if it's a nice day. And I'm a hockey player, so I love playing ice hockey. And people will say, well, Mike, it's a natural transition from the ice, because hockey players are known, if once they're out of the playoffs, it's who's going to the golf course. I was never one to quite get to the golf course like the others, but if you think about it, it can be very frustrating. It's a very, one hole, you're like, yes, you're on top of the world. The next hole, I can't believe this. It can be a roller coaster of emotions, to your point. Exactly. We have to make sure that we kind of keep that in balance and in check. We got to have a little grace and compassion for ourselves. So the outlets that we choose, we want them to be something that recharges us. And sometimes, like you said, you had to kind of check yourself a little bit here when you were doing something that you really find enjoyable, to make sure it stays just that, enjoyable. So good points.
Yeah, and even with, I think a lot of us early on in the shutdown, before the weather was good, a lot of us dove into Netflix and things like that. I did the same, but I even had the same struggle there, almost getting obsessed with, I've got to see this, I've got to see that, I've got to finish this one. Everything in moderation. That sounds silly, but anything in your life can become, if your mindset isn't right, if you lean too heavily on one direction or the other, it's
right.
All about finding that balance in life.
No, you're right. You're trying to find it's the balance, and it's a balanced kind of mindset on just kind of what it is you're using or kind of leaning on to be able to kind of get that kind of outlet for you. We want them to be healthy. We want them to recharge you, to recharge us. We want them to be healthy for me. So yeah, I'm the same. Before the pandemic, Netflix, I didn't jump on Netflix a whole lot. Now my wife and I, we've gone through series. And if you're not careful, you'll stay. People will stay on. It's Netflix by design. When you're finished an episode, we'll give you 7 seconds, 10 seconds, and boom, it rolls to the next one. That wasn't by accident. Before you know it, some people are sitting there and you'll hear it. I've binge watched. I've just binged right that series. So they'll just run through whatever. 10 episodes, I can bang that out.
Yeah.
Boom. And before you know it, they've lost all this time. And so it's the balance. You're absolutely right. So we need to make sure that we find that. So yeah, these are good points.
Little bit of a strange example, but I did notice myself falling into that trap.